Broadcasting live from atop the Rocky Mountains, the crossroads of the West. You are listening to the Liberty Roundtable Radio Talk Show.
All right. Happy to have you along, my fellow Americans. Sam Bushman, Sheriff Richard Mack on your radio. This is the broadcast for April the 15th in the year of our Lord, 2025. You know what? It's tax day. You got your taxes filed, Sheriff?
I am going to plead the fifth on that, Sam.
I think they just need to throw you in the clink, buddy. I mean, come on. What the heck is up with you?
Yeah, I filed for another extension.
Well, here's my question. Donald Trump's all over tariffs, and I support tariffs, although I think they're a congressional responsibility, not a presidential responsibility. So I think Congress needs to get after it. I think they're slow walking. I think that Mike Johnson's an enemy to the president. He's slow walking everything Donald wants to do, which is a disgrace. But I look at this and I go, how come we're so focused on tariffs, adding another tax to the American people, and we're not getting rid of the IRS? You know, Donald's kind of hinted at it, but here comes another filing season.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and Mike Johnson has said several things, and the reason I had such hope for defunding Planned Parenthood was because of Mike Johnson, not President Trump, because Mike Johnson said it during the campaign, and I think right after Trump won, that that Planned Parenthood was on the list to be chopped, and so what has he said since this Congress has now reconvened this year? Kind of crickets, but he was the one bringing it up, and did bring it up. And so why they're being so slow in getting rid of this taxpayer problem?
Because they love the IRS. That's why.
You have to make that conclusion, Sam. Anybody would, because Democrats and Republicans alike have done everything they can to keep the IRS there and to keep Planned Parenthood funded.
Amen. In fact, our friend, former Congressman Steve Stockman, literally tried to take on Lois Lerner and hold her accountable for attacking conservative organizations, and Steve's gone and Lois was untouched.
Right? He went to jail. Steve went to jail.
And Lois was untouched. She was fine.
Yeah, she went to Tahiti, and I say that because she went on vacation. She got a retirement and went on vacation. Yeah, I still am amazed that they allowed this to happen. They're examining and investigating the IRS. She was the head of the IRS, and she testified before Congress. She raised her right arm and swore to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. And you already know what a farce that is. But she did that, and she goes, "I have done nothing wrong. I am pleading the fifth, and I'm resigning. Goodbye." And they actually allowed her to do that.
Right.
So, no. They should have said, "Sit down, or you're going to be held in contempt. You will answer these questions. You're not under arrest, and you're not going to be arrested. We, as your employer, demand that you answer these questions that we're asking." And no, she just walked away. No, okay. And the pleading the fifth does not apply to employee-employer relationships. And there's a case law about that. And so here we go again. The deep state just runs amok and does what it wants. And that was one of our complaints about Trump his first term, is he said he was going to get rid of the deep state, and then he kept appointing deep state people in his cabinet. I would submit that he may have one or two this time as well, but I think that maybe they're not. Maybe they're just go-along people like Kristi Noem, who I met in Rapid City, South Dakota at the Freedom Fest there when CSPOA was very involved in it that year. We made a huge splash there, as you well know. But regardless, the true constitutionalists in South Dakota do not like her at all. And the farmers that are really fighting for land rights don't like her at all. I do know, but I don't understand why she necessarily got so much favor with Trump. But it is simply this: she really campaigned for him.
Yeah,
from
that's
the
right. And he's either naive to the deep state, or I don't know if he's part of the deep state. It's hard to say. But here's the next headline of interest: Barack Obama and Joe Biden implicated in Russian collusion scheme, according to a bombshell report. I got a question mark on this headline because is it true? Who knows? And secondly, even if it's true, what are you going to do about it? I mean, what's going to happen? There's not going to be any accountability for Joe and Barack. You can't even find out if Barack has a real birth certificate.
No. Or that he lied about it and that he fabricated one. Even worse.
Yeah.
So yeah. No, the buddy system in the deep state, going after them, you can only go so far before you run into brick walls. And maybe that's what's happening to poor Sheriff Jenkins. I don't know, but I'm not getting it. But anyway, it's the corruption, and we could call it just that. The corruption of Washington, D.C., whether you call it the deep state or whatever you want to call it, runs so deep. Because
and it runs all the way to your local school board, by the way.
Yes, of course. Because AOC now is going after Congresswoman Green, saying that she just bought a bunch of stock in companies right before they passed legislation. Well, AOC didn't complain about Nancy Pelosi, who's done the same damn thing for decades. And
yeah, but you got to understand, Green's not part of the deep state. She can't do that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, come on. And both Republicans and Democrats go into Congress with a little money or none, and they come out all multimillionaires. And
supposedly Elon Musk and Doge is going to drill into that. I appreciate that, but until figurative's heads roll and people go to prison, it doesn't impress me, Sheriff. Because you're just going to come back and go, oh, yeah, there was a ton of people that got rich. We traced their money. They did it illegally. Now what? They'll be like, so what are you going to do about it?
Yeah, exactly.
So what? Nancy can do that. AOC can do that. Green can't.
Senator Ernst, the lady that always smiles, it just showed her supporting an audit on the IRS. And so I'm going, okay.
Yeah, but as long as there's no audit, it's a good thing to be on the side of, Sheriff.
Yeah.
Right? When are they going to go into? When are we going to go into Fort Knox? I thought we were going to roll in there with headlamps and stuff.
Well, yeah, that was next on my list.
It's not happening.
They made this huge story about checking the gold, and then we got a story that was going worldwide that bankers were frantically trying to get money back to America, and then all of it dropped. Why? Where? What? Yeah, and so just like Patrick Henry said in his famous "Give Me Liberty" speech, I'm willing to know the truth, the whole truth. I'm willing to know it, and do whatever we have to, whatever the truth exposes. We're willing to address it and take care of it. So, but they wouldn't even show us how much of the American people's gold is not in Fort Knox anymore. And, it makes you very suspicious. We've all been suspicious about Fort Knox, that the gold is not there. Okay? So, what are you going to do about it? And that seems to be the backdrop of the whole show today. We see all these things.
You can't do anything about it. Neither can I. Nobody can. Nobody will. Even those who can won't or can't. Who knows? And that's the deal.
And then here's the Lone Ranger. Sometimes the Lone Ranger is Senator Rand Paul, but I've got stuff on him too, and I've got a little stuff on Tom Massey. Same thing. Tom Massey, a Kentucky congressman, and Rand Paul and Ron his dad, would do nothing to help Sam Gerard, an innocent Amish farmer that went to prison, got a 6-year sentence, but served 4.5 years in prison, federal prison, because he made a lotion out of chickweed. Went to prison for that.
Yeah.
And he never committed a crime in his life. Would Tom Massey do anything about it? No.
Not that I know of.
I sat down next to his wife talking about this because she was at a rally with me for Sam Gerard. So,
I feel your pain, Sheriff. Hang tight.
Oh, yeah.
Liberty Roundtable Live.
Do you know what is great about America? Ask an Immigrant. Ask an Immigrant is a new podcast dedicated to helping Americans, especially our youth, value, appreciate, and be grateful for the freedoms we have here in America. Join host Lydia Wallace-Nuttall as she interviews immigrants from around the world to discover their inspiring personal stories about why they came to America. To learn more about why America is the most prosperous, greatest country in the world, download the Loving Liberty app or go to lovingliberty.net.
In the medical field, IT security is crucial. Our highly skilled consultants are HIPAA certified and have 20-plus years of experience servicing medical clinics, billing, and supply companies. We offer comprehensive endpoint protection, guarding your computers and servers against all stages of threats. And with our 24/7 monitoring services, you'll never worry about extensive downtime again. Ready to level up your IT support? Call 801-706-6980 today and discover how great IT services can be with managed IT services.
This April 19th, you're invited to a powerful celebration of American courage and independence. Join the Utah Society Sons of the American Revolution for a special event honoring the shot heard round the world, the moment that launched a revolution. Gather with us at the Utah State Capitol from 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. for a morning of inspiration, remembrance, and patriotic pride. Experience a ceremonial wreath laying, hear live readings and historic reflections, and witness a black powder musket salute that echoes the bravery of our forefathers. Whether you're a student of history, a proud patriot, or just looking for a meaningful way to honor the past, this event is for you. Admission is free and all are welcome. Come celebrate the spirit of 1775 and the birth of American freedom. Visit UtahSocietySAR.org for full details. Let freedom ring. April 19th at the Capitol.
All right, live on your radio. Sheriff Richard Mack with me. I'm just telling you, I'm losing faith in that we can ever restore the republic with an immoral people, murdering babies. Just doesn't end. Barack Obama, Joe Biden implicated in a Russian scheme. Is that going to take off and have wings like it did on Donald? I doubt it. But now I get an email from Senator Rand Paul begging me for money. Poor Rand's just out of cash. Maybe you ought to go back and be a doctor. Anyway, Senator Rand Paul, quote, new bombshell report leads me with more questions for Anthony Fauci. Okay, I support that. I get it. I see what you're saying, Rand. But then he says, Sam, a recent military report indicated that 7 Americans may have contracted the coronavirus in October 2019 at the World Military Games in Wuhan, a few months before the supposed start of the pandemic. It's rumored that the virus was making its way around Wuhan for months before the military members even contracted the virus. But to make matters even worse, the Biden administration tried to prevent this information from coming to light. All of this brings about more questions for Anthony Fauci. Did the NIH know about this virus before the Americans caught it in Wuhan? Was the pandemic a result of dangerous gain-of-function research? And did the lab leak it? I say the lab released it on purpose. That's my opinion. What did Anthony Fauci know, and when did he know it? That's a good question. And then it goes on. Anthony Fauci thought that he'd sail off into the sunset and all would be just fine. He would escape culpability for his role in the pandemic and the COVID cover-up. But he says, this is Rand Paul, I have vowed to ensure that he accounts for his actions. I appreciate it, Rand. But Rand can't do anything else except for beg for money for this. He can't get anything done. He can't create an accountability for Anthony Fauci, can he?
It doesn't look like it. But Rand Paul was the one I worked with the most of any politician in Washington, D.C. And Sam, as you'll recall, I went door to door to all the offices in Washington, D.C. They're huge. They are so huge that I imagined trying to hit a golf ball from one end of the hallway down to the other because it was so far. They're huge. And I thought, well, because I played a little golf, I said, I wonder if this could get, without hitting any sidewalls or doors, that I could hit a golf ball all the way down to the other end. Maybe that would set a record, how the longest putt in the world. I should notify Guinness World Book of Records. But that's what I imagined walking those halls, Sam. But I went to over 85 congressional offices, including Senate and House of Representatives. The only one that invited me back was Charles Schumer, and then he canceled it the next day.
Which was just to make you feel good, run you around the barn plan.
Yeah, and then
it wasn't genuine in the first place, right?
His staff met with me for a minute, and just to let me know that Charles Schumer changed his mind.
That old Chucky's too busy for you, sir.
But the thing of it is, Sam, Rand Paul was the one who I worked with after that and before. I met with him in person at a fundraiser for a senatorial candidate that he came to stump for out here in Arizona. So I paid the $250 to shake hands with him. I asked him if he knew who I was, and he said no. I said, well, I'm Sheriff Mack, Richard Mack,
which I don't mean to be rude. If he's in the freedom movement, he doesn't know who Richard Mack is, there's something wrong there all by itself, right?
Yeah.
Because you even know his dad.
His dad and I are very good friends. But anyway, so I told him who I was real briefly, and I said, and I'm now working with an Amish farmer in your state by the name of Sam Gerard. He's been given 6 years by Judge Danny C. Reeves. And I believe he was appointed by a Republican, but I don't care. They're all corrupt. And I said, so I want your help to get him pardoned and to get him out of there. And I dealt with his head guy, chief of staff. And what the crazy thing of it is, Sam, of all the emails that he and I shared, they all disappeared. They're no longer, right after that, I mean, just a few months later, all of his emails had some sort of tracking deal that they got erased. I don't know if that's a government thing that they did or they did it on their own or even how they do that. I didn't know it could be done, but it happened. And so then they stopped all contact with me as well. But we had, for months, I was in contact with them. And they gave me, you need to contact the Justice Department, and they have an office for pardons. I said, I want you guys to do that. Obviously, no one paid any attention to me. The one that was the rudest to me, Sam, was Senator Jeff Sessions and his office, but all but threw me out. And I told his staff, I said, just a year ago, your boss asked me to get a bunch of sheriffs there for a press conference for him, and I got about 30 sheriffs there to stand behind him while he was talking about, I don't even remember what he was talking about, and Bunny Welch was one of them. Sheriff Bunny Welch from Chester County, Pennsylvania. She was one of them, and there were several others. Jeff Christopher, I believe, was one of them too. So this was some time ago, obviously. And then when I want help for an innocent Amish farmer, they basically were very rude. And I said, so you're basically just telling me to get lost, aren't you? And they just looked down and didn't respond to me. And so this is, if folks, you want the reality of the wonderful people that represent us and stand for freedom and would not allow the injustices to take place, you can thank Rand Paul and you can thank his dad, Ron Paul, for doing nothing to help an innocent Amish farmer. And you can also blame people like Andy Biggs, who is my congressman. He did nothing either. And so right now, I certainly hope and pray that this does not happen the same to Sheriff
Jenkins.
Scott Jenkins. Yeah, and I was thinking about Chuck Jenkins right when I was saying that, because he got attacked too. But for some reason, his charges got dropped. And his was gun related. But
so did Hunter's.
Yeah.
Hunter's all good.
Yeah. But,
anyway, I just find it interesting, and I don't mean to be discouraging on the show, ladies and gentlemen, but I do want to be real about this. It's gotten to where, look, at some point we're just going to have to say America's just going to, at least at the general government level, they're just going to fail. They're too criminal at everything they do. And, everybody hoped Donald could save it. Let's give him a second chance. The first time, hey, he didn't mean to do bad, but he got kind of swamped by the deep state or whatever. His canoe turned over. Give him a second chance. He knows better this time. And we're almost, it's the 15th, so we're 95 days in, Sheriff, about?
Yeah.
Close, because February doesn't have the right number of days. So it's, anyway, I don't know how many. I'd have to figure it out. But it's 9,500 days. What have we got done?
Actually, in a lot of ways, some major happenings.
Let's talk about
them. Deportation.
Okay, so let's talk about deportation for a second. How many people have been deported?
Thousands.
Do we even know how many, though?
I don't know if they've come up with it. It seemed like the other day that they came up with another number. It seemed like 33,000 was mentioned a few weeks ago. But yeah, I mean,
and I appreciate that, but 33,000, if they keep up that pace, I mean, they won't even get the first million gone, much less the 20 million that came in under Joe.
However, because of their strict enforcement, it appears that people are self-deporting, and I don't know if they'll have any numbers on that. The other great thing is that the bleeding has stopped at the border.
That is a great thing.
Very secure, and sheriffs along the border have mentioned that it is, and Border Patrol agents who were really discouraged by what Biden was doing are now very complimentary about the president. Yes, now we're safer. Our country is safer. People are being prosecuted who have committed crimes, illegal immigrants who have committed crimes, and I don't know, the relationship is strained, obviously, with the president of Mexico, but other presidents along in Latin American countries have actually joined with Trump, like President Bukele.
Yeah, and I don't understand why the Mexican relationship is strained, though.
No, I don't. Well, I do to an extent, because she is too close with the underground in Mexico. She didn't get in there because she was fighting the cartels. And as I've told you before, when I talked to college professors all throughout Mexico and asked them, how close is the government to cartels? And they said 100%.
They're one and the same, basically, is the problem.
She's part of that.
Yeah, some are saying we ought to start bombing Mexico.
No.
Yeah, that's what literally Trump and others are kind of saying. They want to basically find the drug cartel strongholds and bomb them. Yeah, very interesting indeed. All right, when we get back, I got two news stories about the media that are of interest. One's good, one's bad. How's that? All right, you're listening to Liberty Roundtable Live. Sam Bushman, the good Sheriff Richard Mack. And I don't mean to be negative, ladies and gentlemen, about 100 days in. Let's talk about it. There are some good news gains, and we want to highlight those. But, man, for the most part, I think we're just in a big old quicksand scenario. Are we not?
How would you like to help this program reach more people and earn silver at the same time? Call or text 801-669-2211 for complete details.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. The U.S. has moved a second aircraft carrier into the waters of the Mideast. It comes ahead of the next round of talks between Iran and the U.S. over Tehran's rapidly advancing nuclear program. The discussions are scheduled for this upcoming weekend, Iran's supreme leader describing the initial talks as having gone well. Harvard University choosing to forego more than $2 billion in federal grants and contracts, the money being frozen by the Trump administration.
The funding cuts come after Harvard refused to comply with the Trump administration's demands to limit activism on campus. In a letter to Harvard, the administration called for several actions, including merit-based admissions and hiring policies and a review of student and faculty views about diversity. Harvard's president said the demands violated the university's First Amendment rights and that no government should dictate what private universities can teach. Greg Clugston, Washington.
It took the jury less than 1 hour to deliver its verdict, finding a 34-year-old illegal alien guilty. The brutal 2023 murder of a Maryland woman, a mother of 5.
Rachel Morin was attacked while exercising on a popular hiking trail northeast of Baltimore. The case hinged on DNA evidence connecting Victor Martinez Hernandez, a Salvadorian national, to the crime. President Trump's reaction on Truth Social, quote, "Life was taken at the hands of a monster who should have never been here in the first place," unquote. He blames Biden open border policies.
Correspondent George Williams. Cody Balmer will remain behind bars. 38-year-old Harrisburg, Pennsylvania man charged with attempted murder, arson, and terrorism in the attack on the Pennsylvania governor's mansion. The attack did a lot of damage, but there were no injuries. Stocks higher on Wall Street this hour. The Dow is up 142 points. The Nasdaq better by 67 points. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Financing a home, especially in today's market, is one of the biggest decisions you'll make for your family. Work with a mortgage company that puts you first. I do. Work with a lender founded on biblical principles like do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. I do. It's Mike Gallagher for the only mortgage company I've used for almost a decade now when financing or refinancing Fellowship Home Loans. I'm friends with the owners, Mike and Brian. I even have them on my show occasionally. I know the care their team puts into every single customer. I can personally tell you that it's a smooth, stress-free process, and that's due to Fellowship's level of service and expertise that puts you in the right loan for your family and your goals. There's a reason Fellowship Home Loans is flooded with 5-star reviews. Whether purchasing a home or a cash-out refi to consolidate some higher interest debt, you can trust Fellowship Home Loans. Start the process. Make the call. 800-510-MIKE, 800-510-MIKE, 800-510-6453. Fellowship Home Loans, mortgage lending by the book.
Nationwide Mortgage Bankers, equalizing lender, NMLS number 819382.
Attention collectors and savvy investors. We are excited to announce a momentous evolution in our journey. Introducing Free Water Coin Company, formerly known as Rust Coin and Gift. This rebranding takes us back to the very roots of where it all began. Free Water, Oregon. It's a tribute to the legacy of Al Rust and a celebration of 3 generations of dedication to excellence in the world of coins and precious gifts. Al, Brian, and Jake Rust standing strong through 64 years of service. Discover a world of exceptional service at Free Water Coin Company, your premier destination for genuine, honest money and precious gifts. Under Brian's expert guidance, Free Water Coin Company, building on the legacy of Rust Coin and Gift, continues its tradition of trust and excellence. Visit us at our Provo, Utah location. Explore our treasures online at freewatercoinco.com or call us at 801-377-1574. Free Water Coin Company, where your future is built one honest coin at a time.
Experience the untamed spirit of the American West with Range Magazine. Each issue is a visual journey featuring award-winning photography and compelling stories that capture the heart of ranching and rural life. Stay informed on the challenges and triumphs of those who live and work on the land. Subscribe today and receive quarterly editions delivered to your doorstep, and join a community that cherishes the enduring legacy of the Western frontier. Visit rangemagazine.com to subscribe.
This is a battle between truth and deceit, a battle between forces that would enslave this country in darkness, and between a media that wants to present you with the truth. We are being censored. America's news outlets no longer provide the truth. 90% of news outlets in the United States are controlled by 6 corporations. The mission of the Epoch Times is to chase the truth, to ground all statements in fact.
TheEpochTimes.com.
Broadcasting live from atop the Rocky Mountains, the crossroads of the West. You are listening to the Liberty Roundtable Radio Talk Show.
Sam Bushman, Sheriff Richard Mack on your radio. We're talking about, the deep state's just got absolute control. It's crazy. We've got to break through this. And I don't bring this up to trash Donald Trump. I think he's done a lot of good. And we need to recognize that good, the border being one of them, no question about it. Do we need to deport more people? Absolutely. But if we stop the red of, the invasion, yes, we've decreased or stopped it significantly. We have experts saying so. We need to deport more for sure. Donald Trump has done some good too. Tariffs are valuable and good. We just need to get rid of the IRS though. But I've got two media stories that I find very interesting in light of all this. Again, the new media has taken center stage. Here it is. Look who's joining the team at Salem Media. Matt Vespa over at townhall.com has the piece. And here's the details. Salem Media Group announced a significant new partnership with Donald Trump Jr. and Lara Trump. Salem acquired a 30% stake in Donald Trump Jr.'s, what they call this thing, MXM News, which I'm not really caught up on the MXM News yet, but MXM News. And they entered a long-term partnership with him focused on taking conservative media into the next era. I think it's pretty cool. Salem Media is positioned to become the home for fearless, unapologetic conservative talk content, if you will, says Donald Trump Jr. I'm excited to help grow its audience, and I'm ready to push back against legacy media with reality and authenticity. Salem Media, they're really growing. And now they've basically added Donald Trump Jr. and Lara to the mix, not to mention Charlie Kirk and Larry Elder and Mike Gallagher. And I can keep going, Dennis Prager. They're building a juggernaut with their news, their text news, if you will. In other words, a news website with their talk radio, with their videos, with their townhall.com. This is getting huge as the new media starts to take center stage. That's a good news piece, in my humble opinion, because instead of having clowns like The View, you're going to have people like Donald Trump Jr. and Lara Trump and others bringing the news to you. Now, are they perfect? No. But will they do way better than what we've seen? Without question, Sheriff.
Yeah, that's definitely good news. And, conservative talk is making a huge maybe comeback since the Biden administration put so many clamps on them. Great. I would really hope that Liberty Roundtable will expand also and gain notoriety and listenership. And I think that my show called the CSPOA webinar every Wednesday, we need to change that to a podcast and invite everybody to come in and listen. Right now, it's just CSPOA posse members. I'd like to make it much bigger than that. And anybody who wants to come in, let them come in. I don't think that needs to be a benefit for people who pay for membership.
Yeah, so people understand, it's a webinar right now where you join by Zoom. You can listen to us. We put up videos and text and things you can see on the screen, and then you can basically chat with us. Sheriff Mack and Jack usually do the show. Sometimes I fill in. And it's really kind of a way that the posse can get guidance and direction and support from the CSPOA literally weekly.
Yeah, I'd like to see that expand. And so I'll be discussing that with you and Jenny.
Yeah, the best way to make it expand is to keep doing the YouTube or the video part, because you can show things on the screen and it's pretty neat. And then all we got to do is hook Zoom to YouTube and get it on YouTube and then Rumble and stuff like that. That's where we need to go.
Right.
Anyway, there's a lot that we can do for that. I just found it great, though, that Donald Trump Jr. and Lara Trump are going to be with Salem News. That's huge, in my opinion. The next piece of good news, if you will, it's kind of bad news, good news, just depends on which part we're focusing on. Headline: Congress to decide fate of NPR and PBS funding, Sheriff.
Well,
Trump
good.
administration officials want legislators to rescind $1.1 billion for the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, which provides some support for the public media. Anyway, they say they're going to do their very best to defund this thing. And my question is, do you think Congress will actually get something done? It says Congress is going to decide the fate. That doesn't mean they're going to shut it down. They're just going to look into it. And I really need to see Congress do something here. Why am I trying to build my own media service at my own expense? And I'm funding PBS and National Public Radio, and I'm funding the other side to compete against me, Sheriff.
Yeah, that's Sam. The government has no business. I mean, that's almost trite to say that, but it's an absolute absurdity that taxpayer dollars fund PBS, NPR, and that's not our job. That's not the role of government, let alone the proper role of government. It's not even close to being any type of role for government to get involved in, and so why don't they fund CSPOA and any other organization
or Liberty News Radio or whatever? Now, here's the interesting detail. When you dig down into the story, here's what it says. Trump's asking Congress to get this done. If Congress decides to defund it, then it'll be defunded. If Congress decides to keep the funding in place, Donald will be forced to spend the money.
Well, hopefully he'll veto any of that, and then to override his veto would be very difficult. Possible, yes, but still very difficult. So I don't know. Government just doesn't understand. Good ideas and good intentions are not their business, not their job, not their prerogative. Oh, this is a good idea. Okay, let's do it. I believe they've actually funded NAACP as well, but
of course they have. But the reason I'm praising the Trump administration on this one is because instead of Trump just creating an executive order or letting Doge or something do it, which, every bit of that's being challenged, Trump administration officials want legislators to rescind this money. That's the right way to go about it. Now, where's Mike Johnson to deliver, Sheriff?
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's a lot of it is in his hands, so no question about that. Hope they get going on that. But if Congress doesn't understand what their role is, or even what form of government we have, democracy, if they don't understand those two principles, then they're never going to return us to the constitutional republic that the founders had established.
Well, if they don't go into Fort Knox and see if the gold's there and move us to a constitutional currency, we're done too. The fix is in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's just a matter of time. Yeah. Anyway, all I can tell you is I pray that Congress will stop the spending of government money, our tax dollars, $1.1 billion for government media. It's got to stop, people. It's just got to stop. All right. Kevin Roberts, he's got a PhD and he's the president of the Heritage Foundation, Sheriff. And he issued a new interesting headline. The deep state is laughing at you, he says. Yeah, deep state's laughing at you. I think he's right about that. And then he says this, there's a bombshell report out of the Daily Signal that just confirmed what we've long feared. Nearly half of Washington, D.C.'s federal workforce has vowed to resist the Trump-Vance administration. What do you think of that? Nearly half of D.C.'s federal workforce has vowed to resist the Trump-Vance administration. How can you work for the government and say, I'm just at 50% of the people are just flat out saying we're going to oppose our boss?
Yeah, that was pretty iffy, and I'd actually.
What do you mean it's iffy? What are you going to do about it, Sheriff?
Well, right after I take care of Sheriff Jenkins, if that ever materializes, I'm just so discouraged about that. And so then I'll have to add this to my list, because really top of my list still is defund Planned Parenthood. And so how do we get rid of something that is so evil like that? And yet even the churches don't unite against that horrible.
Problem is their
criminal
tax
activity.
exempt status might go away, Sheriff. That's the deal. Can't be tampering with that.
Good. You don't need permission from the government to do that. That's already guaranteed. They don't need. Yeah, that politicians. That's just part of the corruption, Sam. That politicians can play that like a football, passing it around. No, that's wrong. Out of the question. No way.
All right, hang tight, ladies and gentlemen. Sheriff Richard Mack with me, CSPOA.org. You're listening to Liberty Roundtable Live.
This April 19th, you're invited to a powerful celebration of American courage and independence. Join the Utah Society Sons of the American Revolution for a special event honoring the shot heard round the world, the moment that launched a revolution. Gather with us at the Utah State Capitol from 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. for a morning of inspiration, remembrance, and patriotic pride. Experience a ceremonial wreath-laying, hear live readings and historic reflections, and witness a black powder musket salute that echoes the bravery of our forefathers. Whether you're a student of history, a proud patriot, or just looking for a meaningful way to honor the past, this event is for you. Admission is free and all are welcome. Come celebrate the spirit of 1775 and the birth of American freedom. Visit UtahSocietySAR.org for full details. Let freedom ring, April 19th at the Capitol.
Looking for an IT partner that truly understands your needs? Managed IT Services is the answer. We meet with you regularly to discuss your goals and form a tailored technology plan. Our customers have called us a trusted advisor who delivers. When it comes to IT, we do it all. Firewalls, cloud storage, server migration, and more. Say goodbye to long-term contracts and hello to a team that earns your business month after month. Call 801-706-6980 now and let Managed IT Services transform your IT experience.
Have you ever had great honey? No, I mean really good, all-natural, raw honey? Well, now you can, thanks to localhoneyman.com. We can ship out our locally made honey all across the U.S. So don't worry, you won't miss out. Plus, Local Honeyman has so many different flavors, like Utah Wildflower, High Desert Delight, Happy Valley, and Blackberry, just to name a few. So purchase your delicious raw honey today at localhoneyman.com.
All right, I got an email from Joseph Lipp. Who's that guy, you may ask? Well, he's the CEO of Live Action. And he says this: we can finally defund Planned Parenthood if we act now. Joseph Lipp, liveaction.org. I really like this headline. I think it's great. I hope we can get it done. I pray he's correct. He says this: did you know that Planned Parenthood receives nearly $700 million in taxpayer funding every year? While last year alone, ladies and gentlemen, they murdered 392,715 preborn lives last year alone, Sheriff.
Yeah, the numbers are staggering, Sam.
And so he says the killing must stop.
Infanticide continues. Thank you, United States Congress.
Now, let me be very clear.
America's churches.
Let me be very clear. I agree that America's churches are the problem, Congress is the problem, but President Trump has really done his best to stand for pro-life. He's one of the first presidents that has ever gone to any pro-life events, or, at least the January event, the big pro-life events. Okay. Uh-huh. He's also then, as far as I understand, put some executive orders in on the Mexico Accord or whatever it is, where we fund abortions internationally. He stopped that. Biden put it back. Trump stopped it again. He's really done his best in many ways with an executive order saying, hey, we're not going to be funding Planned Parenthood and different things. But the problem is Mike Johnson and Congress is just slow walking everything Trump's trying to do. That's what I mean. I'm not trying to beat up on Trump. I just think the deep state's got too much control. When 50% of the employees literally go, we're going to oppose you at every turn, boss. Then you kind of go, whoa, we're in some deep doo-doo, Sheriff.
Yeah. Yeah. Sam, you mentioned that you didn't want to be just totally negative today, and I feel the same way. But in reality, Sam, there's so many horrible things going on, and if we cannot stop the killing of such innocent, precious life, then really I say the rest of it is immaterial. I'm glad that that's happening at the border, but the evil of forcing taxpayers' dollars to this murderous organization, and then we go to jail if we stop paying that money. No, Sam, that is the epitome of evil. It is wrong.
I agree, but it's not about to go away, is it?
It doesn't appear at this point. It doesn't appear that it's getting much traction. So that's why I'm going to get that email ready for my church leaders, and that's why I still want to meet with you and Dr. Bradley and go to Salt Lake City and have a press conference about it. And I'm willing to take that stand, and I think we need to move forthwith on that, and be counted on the side of people who are standing for life and for God and for the many untold deaths of innocent, precious babies.
Amen to that. I got good news, though, Sheriff.
Mm-hmm.
Ready for it? Headline says, Crook yells at witness. Hey, old man, get the F star out of here, else I'll shoot you. Problem is, old man's a concealed carry guy. The Blaze has this piece, and I guess it talks about in Chicago, these thugs were creating a carjacking. And this man basically said he's going to stop it. So the gunman quickly began firing, but so did the old man.
Because he had his concealed carry permit.
Yeah, he's a valid firearm owner, had his concealed permit. He drew his weapon, and he shot. He said, I moved as fast as I could. I returned fire. And the neighborhood cell phone, I guess the neighbor's cell phone, captured the suspects ducking behind a car amid the shootout. So anyway, then they got into a Lexus, fled the scene. But the bottom line is, hey, it's not clear if the two males that were the criminals got wounded. But the concealed carry guy was hitting the leg. But he stopped them and he ran them off, Sheriff. And this is a story that the Blaze is willing to tell you, but the mainstream press isn't willing to touch it.
Oh, of course. Yeah. The lying media that covers up so much stuff like that, Sam, just is so astonishing. The subterfuge. I remember Wolf Blitzer once said, and we will continue at CNN to report the news fairly and honestly and expose the truth. And that is such a lie. It's so agenda and political partisanship that it drives CNN and Fox also, just the opposite. But but it is astonishing what I told my high school students. Watch 5 minutes of CNN and 5 minutes of Fox, and hopefully get the same story or no story. Fox is telling the story, and CNN will not even ever touch the same stories that Fox is talking about. Why? Now, your report to me is to tell me why. And I think that's a legitimate question to ask everybody on our show today, on your show today, and everyone should know the answer to that. And you'll run into one thing: corrupt media, dishonest criminal media. And that kind of destroys the First Amendment guarantee of freedom of the press. Because the thing of it is, they're supposed to be notifying us as to what is really going on. And they're part of the corruption. Yeah.
Now, one good thing that I hear is Congress is supposed to be working on a, reciprocity across the country where you can, have your concealed carry weapon available.
Yeah,
I just think we need.
It's called the Second Amendment, Sam.
I get it. I'm just saying they're saying, hey, Congress has got to come out and do something. And I'm not saying they do. I'm just saying at least there's some effort to roll back some of the Biden gun control. I don't want to call them laws because they're not, pretend legislation or whatever you want to call it. And at least Trump's working on that too. So again, I'm bringing up the good that Trump's been doing. I think it's really the Congress and the courts that are enemies of Trump, and they're the ones basically bogging down his agenda. Now, I don't agree with everything Trump's doing either, but a lot of it I would say, hey, I mean, unless the people start to get literally involved, I don't see Trump being successful, not because he's not right on a lot of issues, but because the deep state is literally shutting him down and we the people aren't doing anything about it.
Right. But one thing I want all our listeners to understand, Sam, you don't have to get the real ID driver's license. You can use your passport. Your passport is fine. They've even said that. But now they're kind of having some problems with the passport, and that's kind of been up there too. And Senator Ernst, the lady that always smiles and looks kind of weird because she never stops smiling, she actually wants the IRS to account for why they spent tens of millions of dollars on firearms and ammunition the last several years, which I believe it's actually a lot more money into that. But why is the IRS doing all that?
Because they can. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah, well, we're going to see if she's going to do anything about it. But
I pray we get something done about it, and I pray we take action and everything else. I got a good news piece for the end of the hour, Sheriff. You ready for it?
You bet.
Headline says 81-year-old waitress couldn't afford to retire, so a stranger raised over $300,000 so she could retire.
Tell him to do that for me.
All I'm saying is I think it's very cool, and I agree we need more pay it forwards. We need more of that kind of stuff. But I'm just saying that's a start. At least that's good news. That's a pay it forward like I've never seen. Hey, you know, this 81-year-old lady's trying to work, trying to do her best. I don't know why she can't afford to retire. I don't know the circumstances. All I'm telling you is that, hey, this stranger gave her a $40 tip. She was super excited about the $40 tip, and as they discussed things, and the stranger just went out and raised $300,000 for her.
Right. That's, well, I love to hear goodwill stories about stuff like that, and more power to her, and God bless her. But I think I'm going to be waiting tables when I'm 81. You said she was 81, right?
Yeah, man, 81 years old. And all I'm saying is that, hey, you know what? Just because it hasn't happened to me, I'm glad it's happened to somebody else. And the reason that I bring it up is because, you know, sometimes you get copycats, Sheriff.
Yeah. Well, that'd be
now,
nice.
we don't really want the copycats on the wrong stuff. Don't try to hijack cars because then you won't have to have an old man shoot at you. Don't do that. But do, if you have the money or the ability to help someone retire or help, you know, pay it forward to somebody or whatever else. Those are good things, and we need more of them. That's why I'm bringing them up. And I think Trump's done a lot of good, folks. And I think Donald Trump Jr. joining Salem is a great move. I mean, there's more. I mean, Salem is becoming a serious powerhouse, Sheriff, in the media. When you get, you know, Dennis Prager and Donald Trump Jr. and Charlie Kirk, and I mean, I'm just naming a few. They got a bunch. You're starting to get a juggernaut of news, buddy, of truth tellers that are better than most by a long shot.
Well, man, what a great 2 hours, Sam.
All right. Well, I appreciate your time, Sheriff, and we always need people to be part of the CSPOA. Let's strategize on see how we can't make that webinar available to everybody. Turn it into a podcast and spread the word and share the love. That's what we got to do all the time. And when it comes to the CSPOA Posse event, really, it's a reach out. It's a give back. How can we support you in working with your local law enforcement folks, right? CSPOA.org. Become a member today. Thank you, Sheriff. And you're listening to Liberty Roundtable Live, syndicated by the Loving Liberty Radio Network. Spread the word. Share the love. LovingLiberty.net. They got an iPhone app, an Android app, or you can just simply listen online at LovingLiberty.net. God save the Republic of the United States of America.